you're gonna need tracing paper. Any tracing paper will work for this, but I prefer one that is a bit glossier. We're gonna use pencils as well. I have 3 here because for this technique, I'm gonna be burning through that lead like crazy. So we got our tracing paper, we got our pencils. The third thing you're gonna need for this particular technique is a piece of sandpaper. You can buy like sandpaper blocks from an art store, but for this particular demonstration, I'm just using cheap sandpaper from like the hardware store, which is really fine to get started with. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pencils and we're gonna rub it against the sandpaper, creating a graphite powder. This really burns through your lead, so expect to have to sharpen it often. Then we're going to take some water and add it to the graphite powder, making a bit of a paste. Then we're going to apply the paste to the glossiest side of our tracing paper. What this does is the glossy side of it is a bit more water resistant, so this mixture won't sink in and bleed through quite as bad. We're going to do this in several layers, gradually getting darker and darker until it's a really nice coverage. The more layers you do with this, the more often you can use this sheet for your projects. If you're planning on just using it for one project, really even a single layer would be fine. Just be careful to do it in layers and not all at once, because if you do it all at once, you risk ripping the paper. Then we're going to take a minute and we're going to draw out what we want to transfer. So in this case, I'm just doing some simple doodles, but for you guys, this could be tracing that you did earlier. It could be an actual reference photo, whatever you like that you want to be transferred. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the piece of paper that we want our sketch to be transferred on, and then we're going to take the tracing paper that we added graphite to, and we're going to put the graphite side facing the side of the paper that you want it on. Then we're going to put our drawing on top, and then you're going to trace it again. For this, you want to use relatively firm pressure to keep it a little bit more even when it comes through in the end. It does work and it will at least get you started. Then we remove the tracing paper and our reference photos, and we have our accurate sketch. Now on to the second way of transferring a sketch, which is to do the tracing first. So I'm just going to go ahead and trace out this reference photo, and I'm going to end up transferring it onto this black piece of paper here. Now whenever I'm tracing, I try to line it up in a way that I'll remember, in case I ever want to go back and add more details to my tracing. The nice thing with this particular technique, if you do map it out, you can always add more detail as you feel you need it. Now that we've finished tracing our reference photo, we're going to transfer it onto this black piece of paper. Since it's a black piece of paper, I'm not going to be using my graphite pencil for this because it just won't show up very well. Instead, I'm going to be using a yellow pastel pencil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sketch and line it on something with the graphite side touching something else. So for me, I like to use like the back of my reference photo or something, because the graphite's actually going to come off and I don't necessarily want that getting all over my desk or whatever surface I'm working on. I'm going to take my pastel pencil and I'm going to retrace the back of our tracing. This can get very confusing very quickly, so if you use a different color, it can be very easy to tell where you've been and where you need to be. Once this is done, we're going to take our tracing and we're going to lie the pastel side so the pastel is touching the paper we wanted on. Then I'm going to trace it once more and we will have our final sketch outline on the piece of paper that we wanted on. Now for this, I like to use something with a blunt end so that I don't rip through my tracing paper in the process of transferring the sketch. And there you have it, an accurate sketch on the paper you want it on. Thanks for watching, and until next time, God bless.